So, Leah, how are you doing these days?
Good, good. Like just pretty regular, yeah. Are you just talking like in terms of day to day now, or just like in terms of everything going on?
Yeah, both. Like, how are you doing? Yeah, just have an organic
Yeah,
conversation. And we'll get into questions.
yeah. Yeah, I'm doing really good. With all this stuff happening, it's been kind of crazy. It's just been nuts seeing like everything happen in the States. Like, there's so much like there's like subtle racism in everyone, like that just happens. But like, you would never like kill someone. Like that's crazy to think about. Like that's insane.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That video was haunting.
Oh my God, I couldn't even watch it. I've watched there was a couple other videos I've seen of like just over the years of this happening. And like after a while I just can't watch it anymore. Like it's just so crazy but yeah, I've like my friend described it to me and like it's just horrible. And you hear all these people like saying, stop and like check his pulse, and they just don't care. And that's just nuts to me. Like four individual people did not care enough.
Yeah,
Right.
that's wild.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to Alliyah, I just want to preface, before we ask you some questions and things like that, I just really want to thank you for being here. Your energy is really valued in this space, and on it, like we couldn't do this without you. So for offering your perspective, I'm very grateful for that, and I just like kind of want you to know that we're both grateful, both myself and Amelia.
Yeah.
And in light of everything happened, we just kind of wanted to use our little platform to kind of shed some light on the topic. It's really important, obviously, like to speak out on what's happening in the United States and in Canada too. I know a lot of focus has been on the United States, but there is a lot going on in Canada too. So we wanted to get your perspective on that as well, if you feel comfortable. And then also, we just really appreciate you coming here to share your story. It's really important. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for doing this. Like I was telling Amelia, like it's really helps. Like you guys are really doing something, and like you said, like just using any platform to be able to, get more information, get education out there. It really, really helps, and that's why you guys are our allies.
Yeah, and like
really couldn't do it without.
We'll never fully understand, but I think that this would resonate with Amelia too. We want to put in that work and stand by people of color and support in whatever way that can look like at this time, and really educate ourselves and like take the time and digest and really put in that homework. Like we really want to put in the work.
Yeah. And that's awesome. Like that, like I said, like education, like that's the biggest thing. And yeah, that's awesome that you guys are taking the initiative to like, learn this stuff, really get yourself involved. And, it helps. Like it really does make it easier to know, like to fight, because you know what's going on, you have the information, you can kind of, you form that, and then it just makes it a lot better. It really does.
Good. I'm glad.
I think it's hard too, because I think sometimes we feel as though maybe we shouldn't be speaking about this because what is our right to talk about racism? And I think this particular situation with George Floyd and just the Black Lives Matter movement kind of coming to a resurgence right now, it's really telling us and informing us as white individuals that we're able to speak up, because I think sometimes we feel like, well, should we? Do we have the right to? Is it okay? Is it appropriate? So that this has been it's been such a great tragedy, but I'm grateful to hear and to see that it's giving us this opportunity to be able to shed some light on the situation from an outsider perspective and form that alliance instead of be fearful about talking about this.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly it. Like it really opens the door to, like, even though it was just like, it may have started with George Floyd, and like now everyone is looking at everywhere, right? Like we're looking even deeper into Canadian discrimination, racism. And it's really good to know that, there's people actually putting in the work to fix it, because there's this show, I don't know if you guys have watched it. It's on Netflix. I think it's called White Privilege. And it's by like Chelsea Handler or whatever, but it's a really good show. But she goes there and she kind of tries to figure out, white privilege and stuff like that. And when she went to talk to this college, they pretty much said, like, there's nothing we can do because it's not our issue, right? Like, we can't change the minds because it's not our issue, right? Like, we're not being racist to ourselves. It's a white issue. So like, that's why it's so great to like see everyone talking, communicating, because like even small steps, like even if, you know, again, like there's racist tendencies in everyone, but like if we can like knock those down or even check ourselves, then it will increase, and you know, it'll really stop it.
Totally. Yeah. And these are institutions that have been set in place forever, right? So yeah, it's going to take some work for sure.
Yes. Yeah. I'm thinking that, like, honestly, I can't wait for the next like 30 years when our generation is like really had our kids and everything like that. And like, you can really see the change in politics. It's just going to be really interesting because I think the world will be a little bit more peaceful or a little bit more, you know, neutral. We all, I feel like, have like the amount of support I gotten on Facebook and like people messaging me personally, it was crazy. Like, I wasn't expecting that at all. And like, I'm not someone that like posts a lot of stuff about politics, and I was really nervous, but then I thought about it. I was like, well, you know, this is a really important issue to me, and it doesn't matter if like someone wants to unfriend me because I posted too much about this. People need to know. Like, I was like, if I post like 5 times a day and it's, you know, a bunch of stories, like people need to know. Yeah. And that's, if I can use my voice that way, and if I can like get people to look at like Black films, or go to Black organizations in Edmonton, or donate, you know, that's helping, and it's big.
Mm-hmm. And I like what you say too about if somebody has an issue with what you're posting or what you're sharing, that's their issue, and they can unfollow you, but it should never stop you from sharing your voice and your perspective and being open to what you want to talk about, because it's something of value. If somebody has an issue with you posting about a Black Lives Matter movement, then they're probably not somebody that we want following us on social media anyways, right?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Keep sharing your voice, and don't ever let anybody stop you, because that's important.
Yeah. And honestly, that's exactly it. Like, just like you said, I realize it just doesn't matter, because this is who I am, and I want this to change, and this is something I'm passionate about. And, you know, I always thought like there's always something bigger, I feel like, in your life, and things that you can do. And I kind of thought my thing is like always just like being really friendly, and also helping in any way I can. So like, anytime I see something bad happening, any way I can, I want to help. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's same with this as well. Like, any way I can do it, if I continue this for the rest of my life, you know, it's a big moment. Like, we're going to, my brother and my dad are all going to the protest tonight.
Amazing. Me too. Nice. Maybe I'll see you there.
Yeah, there you go. We'll meet up. But yeah, like it's cool that we're all going together, right? And my mom would have gone, but she has work. But it's really cool having that like family aspect going, and just seeing like, because, you know, it was a different time for when my dad was like going through stuff, and like, this is when they had the froze and like the Black Power and everything like that. And it's kind of like the same thing now, just in his like kids generation. So it's really cool to like do that all together, and to be fighting for something as a family.
Amazing. I love that connection too. I think it's so important to have that grounding too, and have something that you can all share as a family, because you're in it together. We're all in this together. But I think that's so amazing that you have that.
Yeah, it really is. And honestly, my friends have been really great too. There's a lot of them are coming. And yeah, like Chris, my boyfriend Chris, he's working, but his sister-in-law and his brother are coming. And yeah, it's like, I have a lot of people that have messaged me and say like they want to meet up and like everything like that. And so I'm really excited to see that. And I'm really excited to see a lot of people posting about different things as well. Like, not just like about the protests, but like, you know, different situations that are happening that don't even involve like George Floyd and things like that. Like, you know, an example would be how Black women, we get prescribed less pain meds, like in the hospitals, because people like tend to think Black women are very strong. So a lot of nurses and stuff will not listen either. So if we're in pain and stuff like that, they won't listen, because it's inherently thought that we are supposed to be very strong. So that's another huge issue. Like, example would be my friend, I had an ovarian cyst, which was extremely painful. And my friend had one as well. And when she went to the hospital, she got pain pills. And when I went, I got nothing.
Wow. That's very powerful.
Yeah, I got nothing. Like I got told that, like, it's normal. Like, women get this all the time. So there's nothing we can do. And then I just had to leave.
Right.
It was crazy. Like, and then she told me she went and she got pain meds, and they talked about maybe seeing if it was big enough to do surgery. And I was like, wow, no one even mentioned surgery to me.
Wow.
They just said, like, that's it, it's normal.
And that really proves to you, like, in a hospital, it's all encompassing. Like, it is all around us, and it is very much ingrained. Yeah. It's
right. Like, and it's those kind of like subtle things that people think that, like, it hurts the whole, the whole world. Like, that's just crazy that, we have to be, like, as Black women, have to be in pain just because we're strong, like, said to be stronger, but that doesn't make any sense. Like, it's kind of like how they think about Black men too. Like, they're also supposed to be strong, so they can take more things and stuff like that. But and that's why I think a lot of people are scared of Black men, which they shouldn't be. And I think that's why cops feel like, or some cops feel like, that they have to have power over them. Like, now that they have this power, they're stronger than this guy who's just living his life.
Right.
Yeah. And I think, like, it's just crazy just how different it is between people.
Right. That's such an interesting thing that you're talking about too. I never would have thought about that connection either, when you're talking about how people view a Black woman and a Black man as strong, and how that can be crossed over into that fear.
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah. It's like, it's crazy. Yeah. Like, because they think, I don't know, I think it goes back, it must have gone back to, like, slavery, because, they would work, and maybe because they saw muscles and big, and, technically that's, like, how it is. Like, we have more muscular tone, just genetically. Maybe that's why it's thought that we're stronger or something like that. But, every person is individually different. And that's the thing. Like, there's, there could be, like, maybe some similarities, but mostly it's, everyone has their own individual personality. Like, so it's crazy to just be like, group us all together in one thing when there's so many different levels.
And like you said, that fear has been prominent since, slavery ended, and that's when the police force was even implemented. It was to protect, white people from Black people. That's wild to me. Yeah. Like, people don't know that. It's crazy.
It is like, it's like they were automatically just, that fear is in them. It was just an automatic thing, even though for years they had oppressed, like, Black people, and still for some reason they had the fear that, like, it's just a really weird thing that is, like, ingrained.
Right. It goes back so far.
Like, even I know, like, I think I watched a video of this girl, they were just talking about their experiences, and, like, with them being racist. And she's like, I know it's bad, but sometimes if I, like, see, like, a Black guy walking down the road, I'll just cross the road. Just, like, as an automatic thing. Yeah. Wow. And then, and she was like, that's just an automatic thing. And she checked herself and she was like, I'm going to try and change that. But that's kind of how it is. It's that fear that some people have that something's going to happen.
And I think it's so valuable too to even check yourself, because I think for people, you can, like, a white individual can say, I'm not racist, but I think it's so important to check your heart in that too, and to put yourself in that situation and be honest about what you would do in a situation if you're walking down the street and you see a Black man or you see a white man. In your heart, difference in your mind what you would do, and if there is, check yourself. And to go through that, the problem doesn't get solved, or I know it's such a big problem, it's hard to solve it, but the problem isn't going to lessen if we just ignore it or pretend like it's not there. So I think if you start with acknowledging it, even though it's hard to say it, I think it's still very valuable to acknowledge what is ingrained in us as and just go from there.
Right? Yeah, I think that's so true. And like, I think sometimes people will get offended because it's like, you know, it's not saying like white people are bad. It's just like, you know, there's a tendency in that, like it's ingrained. So, you know, you just work it out. You just, you know, try to be the best person you can be. And that's how you grow. And that's how you grow and that's how you change. And yeah. And like going back to that movie, I think it's like, Hey, White Privilege, it's Chelsea, I think it's called.
On the caption or something too. So people know what it is.
Yeah. And so in that, she talked to some people, I think it was in Orange County, just some women that she was friends with. And they just said they just don't see racism. They're like, I don't see it being like a thing. I think maybe it's there a little bit, but like not very much. And then they were like, well, you know, they do get benefits because sometimes they get scholarships from universities.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that outweighs the racism. Yeah. Right.
And so it was just crazy, like to listen to them, and like they were confident, like they're like, no, I don't think there's really racism here.
And these are
like, how? These are white people, yeah.
You can't even speak about you can't even ask a white person if there's racism somewhere because we don't go through that. We don't experience that. That
exactly
me. No, that makes me very angry too. Yeah. Because it doesn't apply to us. Like, let's be quite honest. We have white privilege and we are trying to examine that and what that looks like. And that makes
it was I got so mad. I was like, how can you even like how like you must know, like even if that racism, you must see it, you must know, like there's no, you can't think that the cops are fair, you can't think that, you know, your opinion, like if you had, you know, a black man dating your daughter, like how would that work? You know, like they just don't even think about that because they don't even, it's just crazy. Like when you're such in a bubble, and sometimes I felt that like in St. Albert as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. But yeah, like they're in such a bubble. So like they just don't, and they don't want to get out. And those are the people that are just unreachable, right? Like you can give them all the facts and you can tell them everything, but you know, they're just unreachable.
That makes me mad. The fact that you almost have to put in extra work to spoon feed these people though, right?
Yeah.
Does it not get to the point where you're like, screw that. Like, I don't like, you know, you're clearly not getting it and you're not willing to put in your own work and I'm feeding you this stuff. Like that's exhausting. They should be paying you for your services almost.
Oh yeah. Well, like it's so exhausting. And even like, besides that, like there's this thing where Black people have to like kind of quiet themselves or like bring in their personality when they go and meet other white people. Or Black people when they meet white people, because they don't want to scare them.
Right.
So it's this like, there's a difference between how you talk to, you know, there's a difference between how you talk to your family and then when you go and talk to, like when I first met Chris's parents, you know, now I'm getting very comfortable with them. But when I first met them, I was very like prim and proper. And like, I didn't really eat too much food and I didn't want to go and touch anything over there. And I was like very quiet and like Beth was so nice. Like she was like, that's fine. You can go grab whatever you want. But you know, that's kind of just how you're raised. And same with, there's this Netflix show called Black AF. It is actually so funny. It's really good. And in it, they talked about how Black people have this thing about looking good. You have to look good all the time, constantly. Anywhere you're going, you got to look good. And it started, I guess, from slavery, when the only time they were, well, after slavery, the only time they were taken seriously was when they were in their Sunday best. So all these years, it's collected and collected and collected. And now, it's, for me as a kid, like my mom, I'd have to wear earrings all the time, or like a little bit of lipstick. We'd have to get dressed and like look proper before we went out, even to like, just to go to the mall or just to go to the grocery store, to Walmart. Like I always had to. Now I've gotten a lot more comfortable, but yeah, it's a really big thing where, you know, you just have to, you know, have that mask up for the benefit of white people. Right. So it's a constant thing that's going on. It's really exhausting.
That is exhausting. That's, yeah, tiptoeing around us white people, for sure. Yeah.
That kind of leads me into, do you mind if I ask my first question, Carl?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, please.
That sounds good. It kind of just leads me into that question of, so my first one was, what has been your experience as being a Black woman in Canada? So you've answered a lot of those questions, but is there anything else you kind of want to further expand on?
Yeah. Well, especially in St. Albert, like I lived in Edmonton beforehand until grade 5. And I think I left in the middle of grade 5, like spring break. Okay. And I had no issues there. I didn't really see my race. Like there was like Filipino people. I was friends with white people. I was friends with like Black people. Like I didn't see anything. Like I noticed like I was different, but like no one said anything. And then I moved to St. Albert. And it was all white. Everyone in my elementary school was white, which was fine. I had like a fine time. And then junior high got in. And I think I was walking down the hallway once, and this guy just called me the N-word. As I was walking to this guy, and like I was in grade 7, he was in grade 8, and he was just by his locker. I just walked past him, and yeah. And I did not know what to say because I've never been told that before, right? There's a quote that came from a protest that I think it's called, like Joe Bodega said it. He's from Star Wars. He was like, every Black person remembers when they were reminded that they were Black. And like, that's the thing, right? Like getting reminded that you're Black all the time. So that St. Albert was where I felt like the racism the most, mostly in junior high. I think that's when people feel like, you know, everyone's going through that hormonal time, and I don't know, everyone's just meaner in junior high. And there was another time I like was in the bathroom, I was washing my hands, and a girl came in and she looked at her hair, and she was like, "Oh, I look like I have Alliyah hair." Yeah. And she didn't see me at the end of the sink, I guess, but her friend saw me and like came over and hugged me and stuff. And I was like, I don't know what to say. Like, yeah. And so like, it's those kind of things and you know, for years I straightened my hair, and I like straightened my hair and straightened my hair and it's probably been only like a year, maybe a year and a half where I've been wearing my hair natural. And like, I wear it in periods. So I'll do natural for like 2 weeks, and then 1 week I'll straighten it because the straightening won't damage at that point. And it's nice to see how long it is. And it's really nice. Like, and I remember thinking to myself when I would wash my hair that it's not what it should be. And it's like crazy for me to think about that now, because like, that's your hair. Like, that's just how your hair is. Like, why would you try to like, you know, there's like things you can do to like twist it and like make it nice and stuff like that. But like, you know, you just have to learn to style it. And that was the thing. And so, yeah, it's just crazy to think, you know, I tried to conform all the time. I remember I got my hair like relaxed, and it burnt off all of this part of my hair. Yeah. Yeah. And then I remember like coming out and asking my friend, and she had like beautiful long blonde hair. And I was like, does mine blow in the wind like yours? And she's like, yeah, it does. And I was so excited. I was like, all I wanted was that like pin straight, blow in the hair. Like, but I realized I was like, you know, I can do a lot of things with my hair, which is great. Like, I can do so many styles. I can do like so many different things. So like, I'm lucky to be able to do 2 textures, because like, I have more things I can do with my hair. So like, it's just fun to experiment.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
So the feelings, so you were saying, I think something that really jumped out to me when you were speaking was that you felt like you had to conform. So when you moved to St. Albert, and of course that's where you and I met, and we both lived here for a lot of our life. So when you moved here and noticed that there was more white people, and that there was a smaller minority population, when you were feeling like you were conforming, did that, and I would assume the answer would be yes, but just to reiterate, did that affect your self-esteem and your image and your ability to view yourself as beautiful.
Yes, 1,000%. I don't know if you remember this, Amelia. Do you remember at Boston Pizza when, yes, I can't remember his name, but anyways, there was a delivery driver that came in. Amelia had just started dating, I can't remember your boyfriend's name.
Michael?
Michael, yeah. So Amelia just started dating Michael, and she like came in. We were like gushing over him, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's so cute!" And then the delivery guy, driver, came up to us and like broke us up and was like, "You know, he would never date you because you're Black."
What?
Out of nowhere.
I do remember that, and I remember looking at him and saying he would not care about the color of anybody's skin. I wanted to take his head and squeeze it off. I remember that. That was
I was like, and I was so taken back. Like it came out of nowhere. And like this guy, like the delivery driver was like a friendly enough guy that we had all been friends with him. So it just felt like a very weird attack. But he was, now that I'm looking back, I believe he was racist, obviously because of that. And he also, I remember one time I had my hair curly. And he's like, "Oh, it probably feels so dry." And I was like, no, it feels fine. I was like, "Do you want to feel?" He's like, "No." And I was like, okay. So he was just that kind of guy who just had his own opinions.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like another moment. So yeah, it definitely did affect my self-esteem a lot. That one was a major one. That one for sure. Because like I had already in the back of my mind was like, had that little thought in my head. So like having it confirmed by him was like the downfall.
Right. It's like, I see this, but other people see it too.
Yes, exactly. It was like a confirmation of what I had already thought. So my self-esteem just like plummeted. I was like, "Oh, I will not get anyone." I will like, yeah, it was bad. So, you know, it really does. And I think that's why a lot of Black people, when they live in kind of a community like that, it does, you know, bring down your self-esteem quite a bit. And then you have like kind of a weird internal battle where it's like you've lived in a place that's so white. So now are you white or are you Black? Right? Like it's like, do you know enough Black stuff to be Black? Kind of thing. But then I realized again over time that there's no such thing as like you need to know all these Black things. Like I'm Black, so I'm Black. Like that's just it.
No, that makes sense though, because I think it's like being caught between two worlds almost, two cultures.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking I wanted Black friends too. Like my brother lived, I think he came to school in, like when we moved here, he stayed in Edmonton. So he was, I think, already in junior high. So he stayed in Edmonton and then he came for a year in St. Albert in Belrose for just a year. And you know, it's also different, I think, for Black guys than it is for Black women in St. Albert. Because, like, he got a lot of attention. Everyone loved him. So, like, everyone was, like, all over him.
That's true. I remember that.
Yep. But for me, I just found, like, you know, I had one guy and we were really good friends and we had this hall party one time. So we were dancing together and he's like, I would date you, but I just can't. And like those kind of things, it's like, why? And I used to think it was like, because I was weird and my personality was kind of weird. But yeah, now that the more that I thought about it, I was like, it's those little things where they think that they could. And my mom also told me this, like she gave me a lot of warnings when it came to guys. And so she said, a lot of guys just want to check you off as having sex with a Black girl or like hanging out with a Black girl, you know, like that's just the box they want to check. So you have to be careful on like who you even associate with, which is why I like didn't really associate with any guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's challenging. I'm glad that you had your mom to guide you in that because it would definitely be a thought that wouldn't come to the forefront right away, especially being
for sure.
Old. You would just think, oh, well, these guys are being friendly. Are they doing
100%?
Wow. It's so sad too that even has to be a conversation.
Yeah. Like that, it was like, it was always like a be careful. Same with like, you know, friends and stuff like that too. You want to be careful because, you know, who knows if, you know, you think these people are your friends, they take you to the woods and then they kill you because they're racist. Like, you know, it could just be a long game.
Right.
So, you know, you have to be really careful with that. And yeah, it's definitely been like interesting having to navigate in St. Albert. And then when I moved out for a year, and then I just moved back in. You want to save up for a house, and rent is expensive. So, but yeah, so when I moved out, I don't know, it just was a lot more freeing. I felt like a lot more comfortable in like the grocery store. I didn't really care. I could like have my hair natural and just like wild and crazy and didn't really matter. But like I find when I'm in St. Albert, I have to be careful. Like I don't touch my bag, or like I make sure to hold my phone only in my hand, because I don't want people to think I'm stealing anything, because people watch and people walk around with you and they think you don't know, but they do. And like, so they'll follow you, or they'll watch you, or customers even will watch you. So you're on like high alert. So I think pretty much my whole family just tries not to touch too many things, pick up too many things. Like, yeah. Like, we have to follow the rules. Like there's rules, and like some people are allowed to break them, like, but we're not. So, you know, with one of my friends came and she wanted to smoke weed in St. Albert. But I told her, I was like, we can only do that in a house, and if I get caught with that, then it's going to be way worse for me than it is for you. And I won't put myself in that kind of situation, just because I know things could be worse, which sucks, because, you know, you want it to be an equal thing, but you know, you just don't want to get yourself in a situation where especially like even like parties and stuff like that, if it gets too rowdy, I need to leave. Like I can't. Yeah.
It seems like in every situation for you and people of color, there's always an extra step in your brain that you're thinking about constantly, which again leads to that exhaustion that we were talking about, right?
Yeah. It's very tiring. Oh my gosh, it's like, oh, it's so draining.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
Wow. Alliyah, I was wondering, especially right now, is there anything that you've implemented just for self-care? There's just like a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's COVID, there's this movement, there's a lot happening. Like what have you been doing for yourself, I guess?
Yeah. Well, I actually got this book called like the Silver Linings book. I got it at I think it was at HomeSense or something. And really what it has in there is things like, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? What's the best thing that can happen? What's the most likely thing? Like you can write those things down. It's like a journal that way. That's really been helping. A lot of spending time with like friends. So, you know, we'll do a lot of driveway drinks and stuff like that and hang out. And that's been really nice. Like that has been really refreshing. But yeah, it's been hard though. Like this kind of stuff is like really, really good, like hard. Sorry, my brother is showing me something. He's showing me the sign that he made for the protest. But yeah, You want to see it?
Yeah, can we see it?
Akeem, can you bring the poster in here? Yeah, they want to see it.
We'd love to.
You want her to do it or not? Do you want it?
Yeah, probably.
Ooh.
Okay. Tell me when you want me to lift it up.
Oh yeah, can you lift it up a little bit? Oh, there we go.
Then perfect.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, that's so good. That's beautiful.
You did such a good job.
I love that. That's so powerful. I just got chills.
Oh, yay.
Did you guys create that phrase, or is that borrowed from somebody?
I actually saw it on in Google. I was trying to look up like protester signs, but I didn't want like the same ones. So I found that, and then I sent it to my brother, and I was like, "You could do that."
I love that.
I'm gonna make.
I love that.
For mine, I'm gonna make. It says "Say her name," and then a bunch of Black women that were killed, and then I'm gonna put I'm a proud Black woman on the other side. So yeah.
That's amazing. I feel so emotional hearing that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Wow. That's awesome. That's so good.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting time. I really hope it changes things, but it's also really great because again, like I don't really interact. There's not a lot of Black people that I interact with other than my family. So it's really going to be great, like getting to be around that kind of people and like to hang out. And yeah, it's going to be it's really going to be good. And I think it's really going to make a change, a difference.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Like, what are your like main hopes after all of this it's over? And like, also, how can we continue this momentum after maybe these protests have a little bit like tapered off and that kind of thing? What can we be doing after?
I think the biggest thing is going to be education after. And then also if you see something, to our phones now, we can't trust, we need cameras, right? So if you see something, record it. Social media is our biggest platform. That's going to be our biggest voice. And that's how we're going to get things done. Because if we don't see it, we're not going to be able to know anything about it. So, and videos really affect people. Like you can connect, you can see it, you can actually see it happening. So that's the biggest thing. And of course, like education for kids and for ourselves too.
Yeah. Amazing. So education, because that's great, Carlos. I was going to kind of ask too, kind of what can we be doing further to support the Black Lives Matter movement? So education is key. And that I think that's so important too. So just making sure that we have knowledge and recording. I love that what you say, recording what we see, because unfortunately people don't believe you at face value. So I think that's such an important component, just to get out your phone, take a picture, go even better, and share it.
Yeah, exactly. And like even like supporting Black businesses, I believe, I think I might have posted one. I'll have to double check, but I think I have a list of Edmonton Black businesses, or at least some of them, and then donating to Black causes in Edmonton. Like there's a lot of them that's around, so that really helps. And Indigenous places as well, because that's also a big piece in Canada.
Yeah, we'll post a bunch of those too, and the links for that as well on the platform. Yeah,
thank you. That's amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, you know what, you guys, it's really great what you guys are doing. Like I said, like it's really great. I'm so happy to be on here and that you asked me to do this, because I love sharing my voice, and I love that you guys are giving it a platform as well, and really thinking about this stuff and really caring about it, and it makes a difference.
Honestly, we felt that we needed to. It was really a need. Like, obviously we want to, but this has to happen. And we have to have these conversations. Like, we just have to move forward. So for a lot of people, I know it's uncomfortable, and even with my own learning, sometimes there is discomfort, but that's normal. And that's part of the process, and we need to just push forward, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but you know what? If we push through, we're all in this together. We can fight it.
Right. I love that, and the permission to be able to speak about it. I think for so long I felt so scared just to talk about racism. Just as somebody who is white, it's so hard. But I saw this really beautiful quote that said, racism begins and ends with white people. And I know that not everywhere in the world, because there's racism in different cultures too, but specifically in the United States and in Canada, that is so true. And because if white people are the ones who are starting this, we need to be the ones that are ending this too. And it's such a large battle, but all we can do is do our part, talk about it. And for us too, like Carly said, this is something that we want to do, but we feel that we need to do this as well, because it's something that needs to be talked about, and we want to give it a voice and shed light on what's going on, no matter how uncomfortable the conversations are or what people are going to say. Like, this is a social injustice that affects everyone, even if we don't walk out the door and we don't feel personally affected by it. The people in our lives, people in our communities, there's so many people in this world that are being affected by it. And if we're looking at humans as equal, and we're all equal, and we're all in this together, we need to care, we need to fight this together. So we're so grateful to talk about this, and we're so grateful that you're willing to talk about it with us.
Like I said, it's awesome, and it's really great that we're doing this.
Agreed.
Carlos, is there anything else that you had to ask? I think I got through the question.
I covered my stuff for sure. So
So Alliyah, is there anything else that you want to add? Anything else you want to talk about, like with education wise, or what we can
well, yeah, like I guess like you were saying, it's hard for white people to, like feel like they can talk about it. So, just to push through that discomfort, and if you get something wrong, don't feel like too bad about it, just correct it. Like, just educate yourself, and, people make mistakes. And, if someone, you write something in the comments and it wasn't politically correct and someone corrects it on you, you can just correct it, just say, apologize, you correct it, and that's all you can do.
Totally.
That's so good. Again, we just really appreciate your voice and your value, and just you as a human being. You're so beautiful and so wonderful, and we just love you, and we're so happy that you were here with us today.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be on here and talk to you guys.
Thanks, Alliyah. Well, that's a really bad heart.
All the love. Amazing. All right. Well, this was this week's episode of Two Peas in a Podcast, and thank you everybody for joining.
Bye.